Secret files on Xinjiang Crackdown leaked. UN High Commissioner's trip to China is restricted. Students of Beijing Normal University protest pandemic policies. China remains the core issue at Quad Summit. Japanese officials condemn the CCP as a rogue state. Hello and welcome to Sound of Hope News. I'm Liam O'Neill. Today is May 27th and here are your China briefs. On May 24th, a number of media outlets reported that hackers breached a system holding thousands of top-secret files about Xinjiang concentration camps. To date, this is the largest leak of classified documents about the Xinjiang area and offers more compelling evidence of the human rights violations committed there. The reported leak immediately aroused international attention and renewed condemnations. The files were first obtained by Adrian Zenz, a German scholar and researcher on Xinjiang issues. So far, the documents have been published by the French newspaper Le Monde and the BBC. More documents are expected to come out after the UN Human Rights High Commissioner Michelle Bachelet completes her 6-day trip to China, which began earlier this week. According to Zenz, the source for the files was an anonymous hacker. Thousands of photos allegedly taken in the detention camps showed detainee faces and personal information. Teenagers, elderly, and women were among them. One photo showed an officer beating a hooded and shackled prisoner with a baton, while other armed officers looked on. The documents also divulged the content of an internal 2017 speech by former CCP Xinjiang top official Chen Quanguo. In the speech, he orders armed police to shoot anyone trying to escape. He also calls on officials to exercise strict control over religious practitioners. Another video contained a 2018 speech by Zhao Kezhi, the CCP Minister of Public Security. He had warned that more than 2 million people in southern Xinjiang were, quote, seriously influenced by the infiltration of extremist religious ideology. He also stated that there were direct orders to increase the capacity of Xinjiang's detention camps. So far, the authenticity of some of the documents has been verified by a number of international news organizations, including the BBC and Le Monde. British Foreign Minister Liz Truss said in a statement on May 24th that the details of the documents were shocking. She urged the CCP to grant UN High Commissioner Bachelet full and unrestricted access to the Xinjiang region for a thorough assessment. Relatives of prisoners of conscience and human rights lawyers appealed to United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, to pay attention to human rights cases during her 6-day visit to China. But many human rights activists are not optimistic. They believe the CCP has arranged for Bachelet to be prevented from seeing the real situation. On May 25th, the French Broadcasting Corporation reported that the Chinese government would cancel the trip if it was referred to as an investigation. Rather, it should be reported as a visit. And due to the pandemic, it will be a closed-loop visit, likely meaning that Bachelet will only be able to meet with pre-authorized interviewees. Journalists will not be present. Bachelet arrived in Guangzhou on May 24th, the first stop on her tour, and it was there that Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi presented Bachelet an English version of Xi Jinping's writings, entitled Excerpts of Discourses on Respecting and Protecting Human Rights. The French Broadcasting Corporation questioned why Bachelet could not go to Xinjiang if there was nothing there to hide. Human rights activists hope that Bachelet can meet with lawyers Li Yuhan and Chang Wei-ping, both imprisoned for representing human rights-related cases. Also, Ilham Ilham, a Xinjiang Uyghur scholar, and Zhang Haitao, prisoner of conscience in Xinjiang, among many others. On the 24th of May, the The U.S. State Department said Bachelet's visit was a mistake under such restrictive controls. On the evening of May 24th, marching students from Beijing Normal University confronted school officials and police with demands for basic rights that had been taken away due to campus lockdowns. These rights included finalizing the exam and summer schedules and not being punished for marching. Students also commended many onlookers. "Thank you for your support because you're here with us," they said. The protest reverberated on other Beijing campuses. Tsinghua University, for instance, immediately reopened the school cafeteria. Many commented that this was definitely directly related to unrest at Beijing Normal University. Large protests have been seen throughout China in recent months. On May 25th, a video showing crowds protesting in Shanghai went viral. "Give me my life back," they shout here. The CCP's extreme zero COVID policy, along with callous behavior by officials wearing white protective clothing, has disgusted many Chinese. In another viral video, a woman challenged two pandemic control workers. She shouts here, "We don't need your service." This netizen summarized complaints against Beijing's rigid lockdowns, writing, "The CCP's mouthpiece says that when facing unreasonable law enforcement methods, citizens should cooperate first and seek to protect their lawful rights afterward." Well, this is like persuading an ill person to drink poison first and ask for real medicine after he recovers. Another wrote, "If the CCP evil bandits are there, there will never be true freedom." On Tuesday, May 24th, the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, or Quad, leaders, that's the United States, Japan, India, and Australia, they held a summit in Tokyo. After the meeting, U.S. President Joe Biden, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese made a joint statement that the alliance will invest more than $50 billion in developing infrastructure in the Indo-Pacific. And a maritime initiative was unveiled to monitor illegal fishing in the region to keep an eye on Chinese vessels. The group has focused on mutually important issues, with China as the biggest concern. In recent years, each Quad nation's bilateral ties with China have deteriorated. Maritime disputes in the East and South China Seas have escalated territorial conflicts between the CCP and its neighbors, including Japan, Taiwan, Vietnam, and the Philippines. After the CCP signed a security pact with the Solomon Islands in mid-April, Australia raised concerns about security in the Pacific. A leaked draft of the agreement, which was verified by the Australian government, said that Chinese warships would be permitted to dock on the islands and that the CCP could send security forces to assist in maintaining social order, according to the BBC. As China increased its routine incursions into the South China Sea, Japan was prompted to increase defense spending. Even during the Quad summit, Chinese and Russian strategic bombers flew over the Sea of Japan in a joint exercise. Japan condemned it as provocative and unacceptable. U.S. President Joe Biden is looking to strengthen Quad alliances and partnerships to protect U.S. interests in the Indo-Pacific and counter the CCP's expansion. On May 23rd, Biden launched the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, IPEF. It states, "Together we represent 40% of the world's GDP. Economically, the Indo-Pacific is a center for global trade and commerce. According to IPEF data, trade with the Indo-Pacific supports more than 3 million American jobs and is the source of nearly $900 billion in foreign direct investment in the United States." China Foreign Minister Wang Yi on Monday said that IPEF should not become a tool for the U.S. to, quote, coerce regional countries to choose sides, and the so-called Indo-Pacific strategy is bound to fail. U.S. Ambassador to Japan, Rahm Emanuel, said that the CCP's backlash reflected its isolation. He said that China wants America out of their backyard. They hate that we have allies and friends, since it highlights all they have is subjects and dependents. On May 24th, just as Japan was hosting the Quad Summit, 4 bombers from China and Russia flew over the surrounding areas of the Japanese archipelago. On May 25th, North Korea launched 3 missiles. Japan strongly criticized these actions, with members of parliament even condemning the CCP as a rogue state. According to the Liberty Times, Japanese Defense Minister Nobuo Kishi said on May 24th that after the Sino-Russian fighter jets approached Japanese airspace, Japan scrambled to carry out warning and expulsion missions. Kishi said that the reason for the flyover was to demonstrate to the host country that they would continue, if not increase, the more provocative actions of the past. A Japanese official, Mashiya Sato, stressed that Japan must be tenacious in defending itself and follow the examples of the United States in the South China Sea, sailing vessels to confront the CCP's military pressure. And regarding North Korea's missile launches, Japanese Defense Minister Kishi pointed out that North Korea's move was a blatant provocation and must not be tolerated. He criticized that despite the worsening epidemic, North Korea continued to develop nuclear weapons and missiles regardless of the lives and livelihoods of its people. Japan has protested against North Korea through diplomatic channels. And thank you for joining us today. Please click like and subscribe for more daily China Briefs.